Southwest is one of the industry's leading low-cost carriers and has played a pivotal role in connecting the United States and beyond. Before I do begin, be sure to subscribe to GlobeTrotting if you haven't already. Still trying to push for 60,000 in 2025. The airline's business has been led by a strategy that is really focused on flying Boeing aircraft. It is what you could describe as a streamlined approach, and has had its positives since conception, but equally struggles. However, as with the development of any airline's fleet, at some point, focus must rest on deciding what aircraft will replace your existing units, something Southwest has definitely been forced to do across the last half-decade. Much of that discussion centered around whether Southwest would continue sticking with the 737 program after a turbulent last half-decade with several incidents, we know quality issues, and much more. Was Southwest, however, really ever going to break its allegiance to Boeing and switch to Airbus? And why on earth were they even interested in the A220 program? Beginning with the inception of Southwest, really they've operated an all-Boeing fleet, focusing in on the 737 family in a bid to streamline and have greater efficiency across its day-to-day operations. This single fleet type strategy has been integral to their success with many benefits, such as maintenance, crew training, and just generally, like I touched on, efficiency across the board. Southwest's pilots are certified to fly only on the 737. Now this reduces our training costs for a business and time, while also having a major benefit as we see aircraft able to serve a wide array of markets from a range and capacity standpoint, and Southwest has the flexibility to essentially take one aircraft out and put one aircraft in. They are all from the same series, but maybe there are different variants serving different missions. Whether flying short hops between regional airports or connecting major cities, the 737's versatility perfectly matches the high-frequency point-to-point network that it has harnessed since birth as a US company. Additionally, a single fleet type reduces the requirement for spare parts. What it also does is simplify your crew scheduling, among other things. For over 50 years, this strategy has served Southwest and helped it become a leading option right across the United States. So why would it change? Well, sometimes there are aircraft that can come into the scene that really have an airline thinking about what would be the best option moving forward. The A220, initially developed by Bombardier as the C series, well, it's quickly become a disruptor in the single-aisle market and proved itself to be a popular option among airlines that are attempting to renew their aging fleets. Its design, catering to the 100 to 150 seat segment, has filled a gap that has been left by competitors, and while it does battle Embraer with their E2, it does not see a perfect response offered by American manufacturer Boeing, which gives it greater market share in this sector. The A220 offers 20 to 25% better fuel efficiency than older aircraft of a similar size and opens up great possibilities for airlines seeking to operate thinner and also longer routes. For example, QantasLink are leveraging the A220 to replace their 717 fleet, a beloved aircraft, but the advancements on the A220 are clear, and just generally, without focusing on this company for too much longer, it'll see the Australian flag carrier be able to serve any Australian location from any Australian location. What I'm saying is, no route is off limits in the country, and this is something that was not possible with previous gen planes. All of a sudden, you have fresh opportunities for the QantasLink division that was not previously thought possible, all the while doing so at a much more efficient rate. Ultimately, the combination of advantages the A220 program has means airlines around the world have looked to adopt it and have done so in a successful manner. However, at one point, this was an aircraft also being considered, believe it or not, by longtime Boeing operator in Southwest. Towards the latter stages of the 2010s and during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, Southwest's fleet strategy was heavily focused in on as it explored options to modernize the aircraft that it flew. While historically loyal to Boeing, the airline did briefly consider the A220-300 from Airbus. Several factors did contribute to this consideration, but it obviously was enough to still make headlines right around the world. For such fundamental interest would have represented a massive switch. Southwest sought to replace its its aging 737NGs, but there was a lot of focus on the smaller Dash 700 model, which in its nature of size does have a capacity comparable to the A220-300. During the period where the fleet was up for renewal, there were also ongoing issues with the 737 MAX program. This included groundings and delayed deliveries, challenges forcing Southwest to explore alternatives to ensure that its fleet plan and growth would be able to stay on track. Despite having an allegiance to Boeing, it looked at the product Airbus was putting forward, and this is just doing its due diligence. It knows it needed to analyze all available offerings to really consider if the Airbus alternative was going to be the right move. Despite a reliance on the 737 program, also adopting the A220 could have presented at the time as a safer option, but whether it was an option for the long term remained another question. According to Forbes and Liam News reports, Airbus presented the A220 to renew the 737 fleet, but also to act as a safer option to the MAX program, which at the time was struggling. Airbus felt that if Southwest opted for their aircraft, they would have known that they would have gotten their planes on time. Further reporting, however, then highlighted that ultimately Southwest didn't necessarily take the offering further through a formal bid. Despite the A220's very evident advantages for most companies, incorporating it into Southwest's fleet would have posed significant challenges and many associated risks that some companies, including this US carrier, may not just have wanted to proceed with. Introducing a new aircraft type, for example, you would have seen additional pilot training, maintenance overhauls, and adjustments to the logistics internally, presenting complexities as Southwest now welcomed a new aircraft type for the first time in quite a while. The business model, which thrives on simplicity and adding a second aircraft type, well, it would have disrupted this streamlined approach, despite there being obvious benefits to adding such a plane. Transitioning, meanwhile, to a mixed fleet would have incurred higher upfront and ongoing costs, which could erode Southwest's competitiveness in what is a very competitive and low-cost carrier space. While a great aircraft, the type would have been certainly an impractical solution when you're basing it on the success enjoyed with the previous model, and that is your 737NG, and especially just sticking with the 737 series. Ultimately, Southwest reaffirmed its commitment to Boeing, placing orders for hundreds of MAX aircraft with a view of these replacing its aging units, despite the turbulence experienced across the program in the late 2010s and even into the early 2020s. You'd argue that is still being felt now with production caps and so forth. By continuing with the 737, Southwest has been able to really limit operational disruptions in the sense of complicating staff, training, and even day-to-day planning. However, there have been some downsides, which I'll get into. Welcoming in the MAX has been a pleasure for them when they've been able to do so, and likely to be the right decision. Those challenges with the program, though, cannot be ignored, such as substantial delays in taking delivery of new aircraft and persistent quality issues that have long been drawn out. As a long-standing Boeing customer, Southwest is confident that Boeing will be able to turn around its fortunes. They have a very strong relationship with this company as they navigate the challenges, and ultimately Southwest's support of this business is going to be very important moving forward. So it's over to you. Do you believe the risks were really worth the investment in the A220 program, or sticking with Boeing despite all their troubles is going to be the right decision across the next 10 to 20 years? Thanks a lot for watching. Do take care. Do be safe. Stay tuned in a couple of days for your latest industry analysis, and be sure to subscribe to GlobeTrotting so you never miss another industry video.